What if I told you the entire Sister Wives empire wasn't just built on a promise of unity, but on a foundation of lies, manipulation, and a shocking $823,000 betrayal that shattered the Brown family forever? You think you know the story of Coyote Pass? You think you know why Kody lost control? Well, you're about to see the real bombshells no one saw coming, exposing how money became the ultimate weapon and how the women finally took back their power. Before we dive into the receipts, the hidden accounts, and the shocking court confessions, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because by the end of this, you'll never look at Kody or Robyn the same way again. For years, the Brown family's dream revolved around Coyote Pass, a sprawling piece of land in Arizona that Kody Brown envisioned as their future. The Great Brown Compound, his legacy. He imagined grand entrances, private quarters, and preached unity. But here's the kicker. While Kody talked about our land, legally, he quietly staked 97% ownership in his own name. The wives, Janelle and Mary, were expected to contribute to payments, upkeep, and the fantasy, but they didn't hold the keys. This imbalance simmered for years. Janelle especially was vocal about her desire to build, even buying an RV just to stay on the property and push progress. What did she get for her efforts? Silence, delay, excuses. Meanwhile, Robyn stayed in her rented house, secure and separate. When the Coyote Pass land finally sold for $1.5 million, Kody seemingly made a generous act, giving Janelle and Mary $35,000 each. Fans briefly wondered if he'd turned a new leaf. But sources allege Kody didn't go nuclear just because of the dollar amount. It was what that money represented. Decades of sacrifices, years of control, and his vision for that land gone. Insiders described his reaction as an emotional detonation once that $610,000 payout cleared. Robyn, according to one source, saw it in his face. He wasn't mad at them, he was humiliated. Why the sudden generosity? Some believe it was a strategic PR move. Others say his hand was forced because Janelle had allegedly explored legal options, and Mary had emails, texts, and even paperwork that could have led to a public court battle Kody didn't want aired. The optics of fighting his two ex-wives over land ownership were not great, especially with filming underway and public sympathy wearing thin. Janelle's reaction to the $610,000 windfall was iconic. When asked how she felt, she calmly quipped, "Karma, baby." It wasn't gloating, it was peace. She got what she felt she was owed materially, and she didn't have to raise her voice. And it cut deeper than any insult could have, because to Kody, this was supposed to be his victory lap, his redemption arc, not a cautionary tale. The message was clear. Janelle wasn't just walking away from him, she was building without him. She even went and bought new land on her own, with her name only, nestled just outside Flagstaff. This was the moment Kody's frustrations boiled over, not just because of the money, but because of the power shift. For decades, he'd been the architect of every major family decision. And now, Janelle and Mary were publicly cashing out and privately setting roots without his input. Insiders revealed that after the sale, Kody stormed into a full-on monologue behind closed doors, calling them ungrateful, saying he gave them too much, and that Robyn was the only one who supported him. He even started exploring ways to reopen old financial claims, trying to account for losses linked to the land's original purchase. But here's the critical detail. When the original Coyote Pass purchase happened, it wasn't just Kody's money. Janelle allegedly funneled in funds from her own accounts, Mary dipped into her savings, and even Christine was rumored to have chipped in at the start. Janelle, it's claimed, kept records, bank statements, PayPal transfers, old text confirmations. Not planning to go to court, but ready if Kody tried anything shady. If these whispers are true, the narrative of Kody as the grand financial benefactor starts to crumble. Robyn, meanwhile, was reportedly stunned and angry at the payout, especially that Kody didn't consult her fully. A hot mic even caught Robyn and Kody arguing during a break in filming, with Robyn allegedly saying, "We needed that money for our future, not their fresh starts." But if you thought the Coyote Pass drama was the end of the financial unraveling, you were dead wrong. A deeper, far more insidious betrayal was about to be exposed, one that would redefine the meaning of Sister Wives and expose Robyn Brown like never before. It began as a whisper, a barely perceptible murmur that escalated into a raging wildfire. A leaked recording caught Robyn Brown discussing moving over $820,000 of community property money into private sole-controlled accounts. Her exact words? "It's just $820,000. Kody doesn't need to know the full amount. If it's listed under family expenses, no one will question it." This bombshell came from an insider whistleblower within the TLC production team. Janelle was the first to hear the tape. With her son Gabe by her side, listening to the account records he'd helped keep, Gabe simply stated, "This is theft, Mom. This is lying." Janelle immediately called Mary, telling her flatly she stole the family's community property money, and she used Kody's electronic signature on 2 of the documents. Mary, incredulous, demanded, "She forged his name?" Christine joined the call, her response icy. "She always had a plan. We were just pawns in it. But this time, she's pushed the boundary." For the first time in years, the 3 former wives stood together, not in misery, but in determination to fight back. The very next day, a producer confronted Kody and Robyn on set, playing Robyn's own words back to her. "Kody doesn't need to know." Kody's loyalty finally cracked. He spat at Robyn. "You said you were only taking care of the finances. My name was signed on those documents. You assured me the paperwork was not an issue, not for you alone." Without a word, Kody stood up and left the set. The media firestorm was immediate and devastating. Christine laid out a timeline of Robyn's financial domination on Instagram. Janelle posted redacted documents, and Mary issued a poignant post. "This isn't about money, it's about trust, and that trust is broken beyond repair." Janelle and Mary wasted no time requesting an independent audit and initiating a legal case charging Robyn with financial coercion, fraud, and forgery. Kody publicly refused to stand in their way, offering wobbly, evasive responses. Robyn stopped answering calls, and TLC halted production. She even threatened to sue the network for airing private conversations. But it was too late. The video was already out. Robyn found herself alone in the house she'd talked Kody into purchasing in her own name. Her accounts were frozen, and the walls echoed with silence. Meanwhile, Mary, Janelle, and Christine, along with their children, gathered for a realignment, with Janelle decreeing, "We must reclaim our power. We will no longer be dictated to." Christine added, "She founded her empire on our silence, but our silence is finished." On a cold morning in Flagstaff, Robyn faced her reckoning day. The courtroom was packed. Robyn, who once wept on TLC over holding the family together, was now a defendant in a fraud and forgery civil case with Mary and Janelle as plaintiffs. Then came a shocking moment. "Mr. Kody Brown, please come on down," the judge announced. Kody, his usual bravado gone, confessed softly, "No, I didn't read the forms. I trusted Robyn." When asked if he knew his digital signature was on 3 separate documents, he swallowed hard and shook his head. "No, I didn't." She said she was just streamlining things for the family. I believed her. A shiver of whispers swept through the gallery. Janelle then stood, carrying the weight of years of deception. She testified about how Robyn had demanded all community property money be placed into a centralized, safer system, calling Janelle paranoid when she complained. Looking directly at Robyn, Janelle stated, "You didn't only lie to Kody, you misled all of us. You stole from our kids, from our futures." As if that weren't enough, Christine Brown's notarized affidavit dropped like another bombshell. Her testimony detailed years of exclusion as Robyn plotted to keep family money for herself, even joking that she'd be the last wife standing. Those words shattered Robyn into a broken, wordless panic. The truth struck like lightning with the unveiling of the forensic audit report. Judge Helms calmly read the verdict. 14 individual money transfers, summing to $823,417.52 in the years 2020 through 2024 were directed into 3 unlisted accounts with only Robyn Sullivan Brown's name on them. Investigators also discovered 2 shell trusts with property deeds not previously revealed, including a $412,000 cash withdrawal from family accounts to buy a Flagstaff house through the BRS Family Trust, and another unidentified Sedona vacation home connected to the scheme. Even more damning, TLC appearance fees and revenue from the show had been quietly diverted from the family LLC to Robyn Brown's individual business checking account. But perhaps the most heartbreaking revelation, the court found that Robyn had depleted the Brown Futures Fund, an account Janelle and Mary created to fund all the children's college tuition, leaving it with only $4,712, having secretly shifted the balance to an account solely for her children. Savannah, Janelle's daughter, cried silently, whispering, she stole everything that was for all of us and gave us nothing. Kody, cameras recording him in the courthouse corridors, descended into depression, repeating, how could she do this? How could I let her do this? When asked if Robyn had lied, he mumbled, I trusted everything she said. I opened our home to her and she burned everything to the ground. The backlash was swift. Mary immediately filed a formal motion for damages, restitution, and a criminal investigation into the forged signatures. Janelle co-signed, and Christine released a public video stating, you don't get to keep what wasn't yours in the first place. Robyn's world collapsed. She locked herself in her bedroom, ignoring calls. She received a transition letter requiring her to leave her Flagstaff property within 45 days unless she could buy it back, which she couldn't afford. At the final court ruling, Robyn Brown was held liable for misappropriation of community property funds, concealment, fraud, and civil forgery of financial signatures. The judge ordered the total liquidation of the BRS Family Trust, including the Sedona and Flagstaff houses. $823,417.52 in damages was to be paid back into the original community property account, now overseen by an independent trustee for Mary and Janelle. All college money taken by Robyn was to be returned to the Brown children. Robyn was deprived of all financial authority, and most significantly, the issue of forged documents was turned over to the Arizona State Attorney's Office for criminal prosecution. Mary and Janelle walked out of the courthouse together, hands clasped, a storm of quiet grief and triumph. This wasn't about dollars, it was about decades of silence, sacrifices for a man who wouldn't stand up for them, and the deception of a woman who built an empire behind their backs. Christine met them, hugging both, declaring, we did it. We finally took back the power. The money from the dissolved trust was dispersed, and Mary and Janelle now have new titles. A Utah vacation home, an Arizona commercial building, and 40% of all TLC residuals rerouted into their names. As Janelle quietly stated, now we get to define what legacy truly is. Kody was last spotted by himself, leasing a one-bedroom apartment in the suburbs of Flagstaff, his phone no longer ringing, his hair graying. He gazed at an old family photo, muttering, what in the world did I do? Robyn disappeared from the limelight. Her Flagstaff residence was auctioned, and her name disappeared from trending pages. She became an outcast in the very world she used to dominate. This monumental shift has brought a new era. Mary has embraced her Mary era, traveling, posting confidently, and dropping subtle jabs. Christine, blissfully remarried and visibly glowing, has become a spiritual mascot for the audience, a blueprint for how to leave and rebuild. And Janelle, calm and steady, is reportedly seriously considering a book deal to tell her full, unfiltered story, one that could outsell Christine's wedding special easily. There's even talk of a joint project, a book from Janelle, Mary, and Christine, not a burn book, but a blueprint. How they survived, how they woke up, and how they left. This, Kody knows, would be a reckoning. Kody, in a bizarre twist, has allegedly been quietly shopping around a new business idea. A men's empowerment retreat, pitching it as a healing space for men navigating divorce, blended families, and media betrayal. The irony, as one former crew member put it, is palpable. He wants to teach men how to lead families. But whose family does he still lead? The women he once led have already arrived. Christine's married. Janelle's land is hers alone. Mary's eyes are forward. They found something Kody is still grasping for, a path that doesn't require power to feel whole. This wasn't just a messy land sale or a financial scandal. It was a transformation. These women didn't explode or beg. They walked away with exactly what they were owed and then kept going, reclaiming their agency, their worth, and their freedom. Welcome, incredible viewers, to COCO Gossip. Have you ever wondered if the biggest red flags in a relationship are often hiding in plain sight, especially when it comes to family dynamics? For years, fans of Sister Wives have watched the unraveling of the Brown family, and while it's tempting to say, hindsight is 20/20, what if I told you that the key to understanding Kody Brown's true nature and the eventual heartbreak of Christine, Janelle, and Mary was revealed decades ago through his shocking treatment of his own mother? Stay tuned to uncover the patterns that doomed these relationships from the start. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss an insightful deep dive. To look back now and think the original wives, Mary, Janelle, and Christine, might have felt they wasted 2.5 decades of their lives on Kody. They spent years championing a man who claimed love should be multiplied, but in reality showed no actual interest in multiplying his affection or even managing his time. But the most profound warning, arguably, wasn't in his later actions, but in his foundational character, demonstrated through his relationship with his mother, Janelle. Imagine this: Kody Brown literally bragging about eating his mother's breakfast out of her hand. This isn't just a quirky anecdote. According to the sources, it's a stark illustration of his entitled and selfish nature. For anyone considering a future partner, the advice is clear. If they treat anyone in their life this way, run. Don't walk, run. This behavior, a microcosm of his larger issues, should have been a screaming siren for the OG3. JD's polygamous roots are deeply intertwined with his parents' choices. Kody grew up in mainstream LDS, and when he returned from his mission at 18 or 19, his parents, at his mother's suggestion, had adopted a fundamental Mormon belief system that endorsed polygamy. His mother even encouraged him to marry another woman. However, the dynamic between Kody's father, Win, and his mother, Janelle, presented a chilling blueprint for how Kody would later operate. When Win started taking more wives, he stopped taking care of Janelle or their family, meaning their kids. Viewers even saw the dilapidated state of Kody's mother's house, a clear sign of neglect that Kody, as her son, did not remedy. This suggests a normalization of a patriarch abandoning his original family for new wives, a pattern eerily similar to Kody's later behavior towards his own first wives. Janelle herself expressed the difficulty of a new wife, Cheryl, entering the family, admitting to jealousy. She spoke of how she took care of kids while Cheryl took care of Win. This profound sense of sacred loneliness was something Janelle seemed to accept. Why? Because the very point of polygamy in their faith was that it was difficult and a refiner's fire, meant to make you jealous and purify your spirit through suffering. This twisted belief system conditions women to suppress their natural protective emotions like jealousy, interpreting them as Satan or temptations to stray from the true path. For Janelle, and likely other women in this system, if life was difficult and hard, it was evidence they were doing the right thing. This deeply ingrained ideology, passed down from his father's example, taught Kody that it was acceptable for a man to abandon his primary responsibilities for new connections and for his wives to endure suffering as a spiritual act. This should have been a massive red flag for Christine. If Kody thinks it's cool for his dad to treat his mom this way, he's probably going to think it's okay to treat you this way too. The narrative around Kody's relationships changed dramatically over time. Christine, for instance, once felt she and Kody had something super special and super fun and super awesome. However, when she needed his help and he wouldn't provide it, she realized she had done everything for you and you can't give this to me. Then came Robyn. Christine observed that Robyn and Kody were like soulmates and a unit together. This connection made Christine jealous, as she didn't know that a marriage could be more or that a deeper connection was possible. Robyn, meanwhile, is described as the most adherent to their religious group, often answering questions in a religious dogmatic way. She seemed to interpret questions as accusations, particularly regarding her connection with Kody, seeing it as wrong for any of us to not hold the ideal that we're all in harmony. She might even deny her greater connection with Kody because she believes it denies the other sister wives what they should be having. Robyn also seems to fear being blamed as this master manipulator behind the scenes if she admits to a deeper connection with Kody. Interestingly, Robyn has her own narrative to avoid blame, claiming that Christine and Janelle handed him, Kody, to her by not wanting to spend time with him and making choices that prevented him from visiting due to his personal beliefs in protecting his family, protecting our jobs, protecting our health during COVID. This perspective is seen as Robyn being highly influenced by Kody's narrative. there was a noticeable transition from the old Kody to the new Kody, affecting his approach to polygamy, religion, and each of his wives, possibly even Robyn herself. Mary, though attempting to accept a peripheral role, found her very presence triggering to Kody, leading him to talk mad shit about her on the reality show. This shows how even those willing to stay were eventually pushed away. While Kody has been described as a very good father, particularly with the younger kids, by the first 3 sister wives, and even shown instances of calm, supportive parenting, a different, more rigid side emerged. The sources note a transition from the old Kody to the new Kody that affected his parenting. A compelling clinical hypothesis suggests that Kody's current rigid and sometimes punitive behavior towards his children, particularly his sons, might stem from his own unresolved trauma. It's speculated that Kody, in his youth, around 18 to 22, might have been in a rigid state, feeling he wasn't allowed to get his pencil wet with a girlfriend, meaning he couldn't date freely or experience youth without the immediate responsibility of marriage and fatherhood over and over again. The source suggests that this denial forced his superego to become very rigid and very punitive and very unreasonable to survive, shutting down his desire to be young. When his own children, like Gabe, acted in ways that challenged his strict COVID precautions or wanted to get their pencil wet, date, it might have triggered this deep-seated resentment within Kody. This could explain why he has completely abandoned most of the kids aside from Robyn's kids. This projection of his own unfulfilled youth and denial of self manifests as a harsh demand for responsibility from his children. Furthermore, Kody might have once been a pleaser in the family, denying himself and greasing the wheels through self-deprecating humor or sacrifices. This could be linked to a dominant father figure and a desperate need for his father's approval, even possibly entering polygamy to gain that acceptance. "Dad, do you love me now?" This self-denial in his youth potentially fueled the deep resentment now seen in his parenting. Kody's extreme COVID restrictions had devastating consequences beyond his marriages. They created a profound rift among the children, particularly between Robyn's daughter Brianna and Janelle's daughter Savannah. Because they had different opinions about the rules, they just didn't know what to do with each other, so we kind of kept our distance. Brianna tearfully expressed her heartbreak, feeling shocked and confused, and like Savannah, doesn't care, especially since she grew up with all of them. Savannah confirmed this strain, admitting she and Brianna don't talk to her. "We just kind of ignore each other in school." Savannah also noted that relationships with Robyn's kids were not as close as your kids were, referring to Christine's children. Janelle highlighted the severity of the situation, stating, "Savannah and Brianna have no relationship." Christine was heartbreaking and had no idea things were so bad, realizing how broken things are when you hear it from a kid.
This shows how a father's rigid rules and fracturing family dynamics can directly shatter the relationships of the next generation,
leaving emotional scars on the children themselves.
The story of the Brown family, as revealed in these sources, is a complex tapestry of deeply ingrained religious dogma, unresolved personal trauma, and inherited patterns of behavior. Kody's early life and his observation of his father's polygamous choices, particularly the neglect of his mother, laid a foundation for how he would later treat his own wives. His own struggles with self-denial and the demands of early responsibility potentially explain his later rigidity and abandonment of his children, and the devastating impact of his choices, magnified by strict rules like those during COVID, continues to break the very bonds that once defined their plural family, even among the children. This deep dive shows us the critical importance of looking at a person's history, especially how they treat their family, to understand their potential in future relationships. What are your thoughts on these revelations? Share them in the comments below. If you found this analysis insightful, give this video a thumbs up, and most importantly, subscribe to COCO Gossip for more engaging content like this.